Greetings everybody, my name is DJ, this is Reality Synthesis, and today we are going to be discussing my new model of manifestation designed to correctly and accurately describe how and why manifestation works the way that it does, so that you can get the results that you want. We're going to be talking about the gazing method, the gazing technique, the gazing practice, whatever we want to be calling it. This is a technique that I've been doing since I was 15 years old. Many years I've had experience with this technique, so I know the ins and outs of it better than anyone else out there as far as I know. Alright, so you're going to learn it from me here today. I will tell you when to apply it, why we apply it, what's going on when we do it, the end goal of it, what it can do for you, all of the stuff. So to put simply, the gazing method is as it is, the gazing method. We gaze at something. And by gazing at something, we increase our subconscious capacity. If you want to deep dive on this idea, go and watch my other video on subconscious capacity. It will give you much more insight about this idea because it's kind of too complicated to go over in this video. But to break it down within a couple seconds, your subconscious capacity refers to your coherency as the corporeal being with divinity. Okay, so we're talking about gazing brings you out and distances yourself from corporeal being, which is the physical reality, the seeming objective reality, right? 3D reality as they call it, which is such a stupid term to use, but you know, it's whatever it is. We have this diagram here. I want to explain to you what this really is. So subconscious capacity is representative of how much conscious mind you have awareness of in the unconscious mind. So how much of your unconscious mind does your conscious mind have awareness of, basically? That is what the subconscious capacity is. And by gazing, we increase that. If we continually do it, we increase it at a baseline level. Now, what does this afford us to do? This affords us to be able to distance ourselves from reality, which creates space. Literally, it creates space. It actually creates negative space, if we want to get to the technical terms and the physics as to what this is actually going on to, but it creates space, in effect. It creates more distance between you and reality. You are up here. You're not down here. You are up here. But you believe yourself to be down here in the objective reality, right? But really, all of your awareness comes top down, not bottom up. However, when you do the gazing practice, it takes you bottom up. It takes you from objective corporeal being up to here. It's more powerful than meditation in that sense because you can do it anywhere, anytime, open eye method. SATS, by the way, state akin to sleep, is doing the same mechanic as this. The gazing method is a form of SATS. You can, like anything that Neville tells you can do in SATS, whatever people tell you can do in SATS, this is the same thing. And when you get good enough at it, you'll be able to imagine a scene on the spot. It'll take you less than probably 3 minutes to do a scene with your eyes open. If you can find a quiet place, just get dazed, gaze at something, gaze past it, and you'll get into a SATS type state where you'll go into a sort of trance place. And what you're actually doing is you're disassociating and distancing yourself. You're pulling out of your corporeal being and coming up here where you can then stain a new image onto the lens of reality. So I want you to see this part here as this. That's what this is, right? This is the lens of reality that you experience. This is basically the contents of your unconscious mind. We can see this is all of the pathways that we have here, right? All of the pathways that interact, all the associations between thoughts and the conceptual associations and the senses of self, and the states within the states and the processes within all of this stuff, right? That's the contents of your mind. And of course the conscious mind, it can only light up a certain amount of this at once. So you only have awareness of a small bit of what's firing in this pathway at once. You don't have awareness of the entirety of it unless you pull out of corporeal being, and in effect you don't experience multiple thoughts at once. You more or less experience the overarching archetypes of what is involved in this. You experience the themic representations, not the individual concepts and bits and pieces, although that can come to you as a result of being in the archetypal associations that relate to all of these pathways. And again, this is understanding process within process. Thought processes together create larger archetypal associations and themes, you could say, right? So this is contained here. So when we're doing SATS, when we're doing gazing, and we're doing it for the purpose of, and I'll get to the application of this very soon, just wait, I'm explaining the why and the what and the bits and pieces. When we are changing the structure of the mind, we don't change it from down here. We can change it from down here, but it's not the most efficient way. If you're trying to get deep, really deep in a specific imaginal scene. We're talking about doing specific imaginal stuff here. We're talking about doing what Neville Goddard talked about. Neville Goddard said that you can manifest just as easily with your eyes open randomly throughout the day. I have a quote on my website saying this. He himself said that it's just as easy, I can't remember the exact terminology, but he's basically implying it's just as easy to manifest reading something in the newspaper and taking that upon you as it is doing deliberate imaginal scenes. He says it's just as easy. But why would you not want to master it? That's what he's saying. He even said at the end of it, I need to really get that quote, but he said after that, why would you not want to do it this way? Because when you have conscious control over it, you can manipulate things to be how you want them instead of relying on associative, sensory information in your physical world. So instead of trying to manifest from down here, which you can do, because everything that is down here is experienced from up here. Remember, this is the only consciousness that exists. Everyone exists as one consciousness, one imagination, one God. However, we all have a place on the lens of perception where our unconscious mind exists that the light is shining down through at all times. Now also this contains the past, present and future experiences, and they all exist at once. So revision is also, in essence, the same practice as what we're doing here. So when we're changing past things, and the reason why we experience past things is because we are integrated within a larger process. And as we have a hysteresis cycle that exists within the larger process, we experience time as that, that mechanic, basically. So up here, there is no time because you're outside of corporeal being. You're outside of the process within the process. Right, but that's what a disassociating, distancing yourself from the objective senses is all about. So time is an existent process that exists within our unconscious mind that we experience as past events, future events. But remember, it is just field geometries that exist here and now. It all exists in the lens here and now. There is no past or future. It's all shining down, projecting into the reality at all times. Everyone's past, future, and present, all of that stuff exists here in the now. Right, in effect. From the top down. Time exists. It is ignorant people will tell you there is no time. Well, there is a time. Time exists as a function of process within process. Right? Up here there is no time, but down here there is time. So understand that time is a thing on our level. It is a requirement to exist on our level. I won't go into how and why it exists that way because it's kind of complicated to explain why the mechanics are the way they are, because it has to do with the interactions of yin and yang and the pressure gradients between these principles. But either way, the past can be changed in the here and the now, and thus seeming revision can be applied to the same process as well. Same thing. Whenever you act down here and you make decisions which serve you, you decide, I'm going to show up for myself and be who I want to be in reality. I'm going to value myself. I'm going to know my worth. I'm going to disassociate with everything that is not conforming to my end, and I'm going to be courageous, and I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to know my value, and I'm just going to be, this doesn't fit, see you later. This does fit, welcome in. You have boundary, right? The 30-sage rune, I'm doing a rune reading soon, which is interesting, but you have boundaries, you separate that which is not from that which is, and you purify your sense of self accordingly. That can be done from down here in the corporeal reality. But that can have significant lasting changes from stuff up here in the past. Because making decisions, according to your path of least resistance, the things that you hold affinity for, the way that you want to express yourself, if you've had past regrets for compromising on your expression, not talking to someone in a way that you genuinely and authentically wanted to, but you didn't, when you fulfill that, you are essentially doing revision, and you can do it physically in the reality. You don't have to do some imaginary scene. In that moment, you just make the decision, I'm going to speak my mind. You know what you're doing? You're owning it. You know what you're doing? You're revising the past. Because in essence, that past experience doesn't hold influence over you and control your decisions anymore. A past experience is only an issue if it is contrastive, as in if what we want to be expressing is not what we feel that we can, if we don't feel safe. If we don't feel safe being ourselves, then we need to revise an experience. But if we can sum up the courage to go into that place and make that decision and express ourselves the way that we wanted to the entire time, then we are essentially revising the past anyway. It's a form of revision. Neville won't tell you that. Nobody else on earth will tell you that but me. Why? Because I study this stuff for a living. I've spent tens of thousands of hours going into these mechanics, and I've seen it happen in my own life. I've seen it happen in other people's lives. It's a fact, right? But either way, I want to explain that this is also how revision works as well, because the past experiences all exist in the here and the now, and there are many ways that you can alter it. We all know what the Neville Goddard Sats techniques are, so we don't need to go into the mechanics as to how that's gone. But the field geometries that make up your unconscious mind exist all here, okay? So when you're doing sats, you are more up here. When you are doing gazing, which again, gazing is a form of sats, you are more up here, more or less. Like, it's not that you go into gaze and, woof, I'm up here. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a gradient, right? Really, you can never really be fully up here. You can kind of only be up here in the subconscious, because again, the subconscious capacity is the experience of how much consciousness you have awareness of within the unconscious mind. This is the unconscious mind. How up here are you determines your subconscious capacity at a baseline level. Are you associating down here in the lack and the limitation, or are you associating up here where there's potentiality, where there's no time, where there's no space, where there's no, corporeal being, there's no objective data that you have to, accept as fact, basically, right? So everything that exists up here is subjective. You negate the objective senses, which is why Neville tells you to close the eyes, which again, there's Bible scriptures that people think it's all about closing the eyes. It's not about closing the eyes. Going into the bedroom is not about closing the eyes. It's not about going to bed and sleeping and stuff. That's archetypally representative of the feminine principle, which is receptive, which is more into up here in the unconscious mind. It is taking the conscious mind into the unconscious mind. That's what that actually means. People who think that they understand metaphysics out there, who really don't, will talk about things that really don't apply to the mechanics of what we're talking about. That's how Neville interpreted it, but that's not the real deepest understanding. There is more to it than that. The fundamental principles is that we live in a reality governed by yin and yang. That's really what feminine, masculine archetypes are referring to, conscious and unconscious phenomena and their interaction thereof. That is what this is about. That is what SATS is. Do you understand now? Unconscious, conscious. How much consciousness you have awareness of in the unconscious mind refers to the subconscious capacity. And as the conscious mind completely has awareness of the conscious mind in its entirety, the more up here you are by default, it means that you've conjoined the lower masculine and feminine principles into one thing. So the corporeal being exists up here in almost complete potentiality, where you have no resistive pathways running, and you basically live in a place where you are completely coherent to your path of least resistance. That is the lesser conjunction. So the lower part of greater consciousness is the unconscious mind, essentially. The greater unconscious mind is the subconscious mind, not unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind exists, what we experience it as, down here, but again, that's a projection of what's up here. So, in effect, the unconscious mind that we experience is down here, but from greater consciousness is up here as the subconscious mind. It's kind of weird to think about, but it's depending upon the perspective in essence. It's greater and lesser consciousness, and the interaction of these two components coming together as one thing. That's really the effect of what we're doing here. So when you increase subconscious capacity, you are conjoining these two pieces together as one thing instead of having them separate. So the primary function of the gazing is to conjoin these two principles. But that has knock-on effects in gazing with manifestation and sats and all of this stuff that we talk about. But that's not even the point. The point is the immortality work. The point is to conjoin the archetypes so that they become one thing, because then they're greater than the sum of the parts. Neville Goddard says to be rebirthed, not reborn, rebirthed, different story. That's how you get into the whole promise thing. He says, I can't remember the exact language, but he was talking about you basically transcend corporeal being into the Christos without a loss of identity. That's the important part that he mentioned. Nobody really picks up on that because I don't study his stuff extensively. Without loss of identity. Understand that. That is the primary part of the importance of this. Without loss of identity. You come down into the furnace. Hell, the furnace, right? The transforming factor. We put under the fire, we put under the pressure to transform. Without pressure, because again, time is down here. Time exists as the pressure, right? The procession of process within process. That is the birth of our corporeal being, the process within the greater process. And that we have greater process driving us. And so when we learn to get on that path of least resistance, we are no longer in the furnace. We are flowing with what it is. And so as we peel back the layers, we become more of ourselves. That is our identification. And so we're bringing a lower identification into higher order consciousness. You have more awareness of more at once. You can experience more at once. Your sensory capacity increases because you are more aware of more at once. Your conscious mind is exploring more of the unconscious mind. The subconscious capacity increases. You have more space, more distance. Do you understand? That's what we're doing. That is why being rebirthed is all about taking the identification up into a higher order substance. That's the alchemy. That's the point of manifestation. That's what we're here. We're not here to manifest things. That's not the point. We're here to become immortal beings. That's the function. That's why you exist. You don't exist to manifest your SP. You don't exist to manifest money, any of this stuff. You exist to become an immortal being and to become coherent with divine process, metaphysically associated. That is why you exist. That's why I exist. Everyone and everything exists to become higher order. Everyone has natural striving towards higher order. That is why you feel bad. You feel bad because you want to be better, because that is part of your natural striving that is built into your existence. Being experienced by greater process, that is always driving you to be better, because this is always driving higher order conjunction of these processes and these principles. You are always being drawn to fulfill your path of least resistance. That is why you feel bad, because that is the point of comparison. That is the objective point of comparison that you have within you. Otherwise you wouldn't feel bad, because it would all be subjective and it would all be, turning around and up and down and around and around. It would never be stable. It's stable because greater process is that stability, that is that reference point. That is what you are conjoining together as one thing. You are conjoining the archetypes of consciousness that you are comprised of into higher order substances so they can become one thing that is a purified substance. That's why it again is called the furnace, because it puts you under pressure, puts you under the fire. Fire turns water to steam. Steam is the condensate, well, it's technically not a condensate, but it's a product of an alchemical process unfolding. That's the point. We are literally an alchemical ritual, living and breathing. We are a simulacrum, living and breathing. That is why we exist. That is what we are doing. That is what manifestation is. That's the irrefutable objective fact. And all of these influences out there, they have no idea about what I just said, because they're metaphysically illiterate. They have no idea. Not even a little fraction of a percentage. They're way off base. They'll never complete the great work. Well, they will probably, at least because they're more on their path, because that's the only thing that matters, is that it doesn't matter about your understanding of things. Well, it does to a degree when you get to certain levels of the work, but for the lower levels of the work, you don't have to understand any of this stuff. You just have to have courage. Courage will get you most of the way in the lower stages of the process of doing the great work. Courage. So the gazing gives you the ability to apply courage. It gives you the ability to apply courage. People out there, like your SP, trying to manifest your SP, they are looking for a specific archetype of consciousness. When I said that when you value yourself and your expression of self, that is your archetype of consciousness that you exist within, that is according to your greater process that's driving you, right? Greater consciousness, consciousness within consciousness. And so your SP, they have their own archetype that they are looking for, just as you have an archetype that you are looking for. So it's this dance of archetypes of consciousness, states. When I say archetypes, I'm referring to states, right? You can think of it like that. Not in essence, but practically speaking, we could say it like that. There are these two principles that are looking to complement each other. And when you are out of whack with your greater process that's driving you to embody your archetype of consciousness, of fulfillment, the way that you are desiring to express yourself, but you keep holding back because the conditions in the world, people, they don't approve of who you're being, and so you basically retreat from your path of least resistance that you are being driven to fulfill all the time. But when you deny that path of least resistance, you deny the archetype of consciousness that you have association for, you have affinity for, this person cannot be interested in you because you're not playing your part. They're waiting for you to wake up and play your part. They're waiting for you. They are waiting for you to wake up and play your part. Do you understand? They are waiting for you to embody the archetype of it doesn't matter what you say to yourself. It doesn't matter. You can have all of your thoughts and all of your feelings in the archetype of consciousness that you have affinity for. That's the real mechanics of manifestation. People won't tell you that because they don't get it, because they're all metaphysically illiterate. They're way off base. They could never explain this phenomena on a deeper level. They have no idea. People always, oh, it's neuroscience. No, absolute nonsense. We're all chemical metaphysical beings. I've already demonstrated that. I've written hundreds of pages on my Ethereum notebook on my website, which everybody can read for free. Links are in the description. You must embody the archetype of consciousness that you have affinity for. When you take upon yourself and you own it completely, you own that expression of self, and you act with courage in the world, without compromise. You be yourself without compromise. As I've said in my old videos, you be yourself without compromise. You stand naked on the stage of reality, because standing naked on the stage of reality, metaphorically speaking, of course, that is who you are. That is your path of least resistance. You're completely vulnerable, completely open, completely willing to become purified on the fire, purified in the furnace. To accept that this is who it is. To accept and let go. That is what accepting and letting go is. It's letting go of the attachment to stuff that is not self. That is what letting go is. That's how you transform. You transform through the reality of experience. Why are past experiences still haunting us? Because they were real to us. The reality of these experiences still exists up here. They're projecting down the experiences, of course, the implications and the archetypal associations relative to our, ideally uncompromised sense of self, telling us that we're not valued. Those experiences still exist. All of those, anything that is real to you, anything that is, this is why Neville tells us to saturate the mind and loop the scene until it's natural, right? Anything that is the reality of experience, anything that is like a memory to you, that exists up here. That exists up here. It exists in the unconscious field geometry and is projecting down phenomena into your reality. Other people, yourself, something will manifest to confirm what's up in the contents. Because this is like projecting a shadow. This represents the pattern. The source of emanation projects the shadow down, and that is basically what you experience down here. The spotlight, in essence, that has a mask over it, and it's shining, and the mask is projecting the shadow into the world, right? And so all of the reality of the experience that exists in the past, and even in the future, because you can plant seeds in the future, it has that effect, okay? So understand that anytime that you plant any seed that has the reality of experience according to it, it's a part of who you are, because you experience the reality. That's your testimony. The testimony of the Christos, that's what that means. It's that your testimony defines who you are, how you believe yourself to be, right? Because it was real to you. That's in essence what we're doing when it comes to doing imaginal work. Is getting off basis of the whole gazing thing, but this is important to understand because this is where it all goes to. I just have to talk about the mechanics of this because it's in my head, right? So the gazing, as I've said, it takes you out of corporeal being and it puts you into incorporeal being. Why is this powerful? Again, because we can integrate stuff from top down. That's where the power is. The power comes from top, not the bottom. But of course, anything that is experienced as real from the bottom will integrate up here because it is referencing from the top. It reflects back up to the top. So consciousness experiences the reflection of what's down here. So it's cycling through, right? And so the projection playing off of all of the other people's experiences, because everybody has their own, place on the lens and they all project their own things. And the archetypes that I talked about, your SP is waiting for you to embody the archetype that they're looking for, that they can, I don't want to say feed off, but integrate within and become one with, conjoin with. Everybody has an archetype that they're expressing in your life that relates to you, right? And so when you play your part, you are interacting with their archetypes of consciousness, and that's how you have the variability. Other people can seemingly influence, your beliefs, especially as a child, when you don't have a sense of self that's refined yet, because you're still developing your identity, right? Up until at least the age of 7, you can go through traumatic experiences and they can shape who you are. And almost every single person I talk to in coaching tells me, oh, I have this experience that happened to me when I was, usually at least under the age of 18. Most of these people, usually actually it's under the age of 12 most of the time. Usually under the age of 12, but most people can't remember the super early stuff because you need to peel back the layers. When the layers peel back, then more of these pieces will resolve themselves. You work with any and all means you have available to you. But again, doing the subconscious capacity work will bring awareness to what is up here. It will bring awareness to the layers that need to be resolved. It will bring awareness and basically force you, in essence, to dissolve your stuff. It will become more and more abundantly aware. You will see more, you will understand more, you will experience more. Listen and understand what I'm trying to say. You learn through the reality of experience, right? As I said, you impress stuff, you burn patterns into the lens of reality that your unconscious mind exists. You burn a new pattern in when you experience something that is real to you. That is the currency of manifesting, if you wish. The currency of manifesting is anything that is real to you burns into the lens of reality, your unconscious mind, a new pattern. It alters the pattern so that new phenomena project. That's what the reality of experience is about. And so when it comes to doing conscious manifesting work, when we increase our subconscious capacity, it means that we can experience and understand more of what's going on up here. We can see the layers for what they are. We can see things with clarity. We're not caught up in the resistive pathways and judging stuff. We have space to distance. We have space to breathe, to see things for what they are. That's the point of the gazing. Increasing your awareness of what already exists within. It increases your ability to see what exists. That's the real point. the more alchemical function of it. Of course, there's more relaxation, and you're less likely to react to people in that sense, because again, that's an effect of the distance. When you look at all of the symptomologies and the effects, and you look at the metaphysics, it'll correlate completely. I'm not going to go into all of them here, but you should be able to apply some common sense to what it is that I'm saying. So, gazing is a function of us to basically bring ourselves out of corporeal being and exist from the top down more so than before. And if you continue to do it repetitively, at a baseline level, your coherency will increase. Your coherency will elevate to such a point where you will know wherever you need to be flowing with. You will more naturally experience your path of least resistance, and you will start to make progress in fulfilling the conditions that have been holding you back. The things that you don't feel comfortable expressing because you've been devalued in the past, and you have these past experiences that exist that are proving to you, no, you can't be this person. Well, again, even if in the world you act with courage in such a way that proves to you that I am this person, that implies that this past experience is no longer a factor, you've done revision. And you never had to go and do an imaginal scene. You can, but you don't have to. There's many ways to do it. You can work on both aspects, yin and yang aspects, right? So people always tell you have to do imaginal. It's all imaginal. It's all biblical. It's all imaginal scenes. No, it's not. It never was, and it never will be. There are so many people out there who manifest stuff simply by existing in a state of being that is correspondent to the archetype that they have affinity for. And as they exist in that place and they embody that state that they have affinity for by writing down all the pieces that correspond to what they have, path of least resistance flow towards, that they are naturally inclined to flow towards, and they take upon themselves these archetypes, they build greater context, they take that feeling upon themselves. I talked about the feeling in another video, go and watch it. They take upon themselves the feeling, they live in that feeling. This is the Neville Goddard lullaby technique. And Neville Goddard lullaby technique proves what I'm trying to say, right? He told you to just live in the feeling and basically be grateful for that feeling, because it's who you are. And he even said, say it as though you are praying to a higher power. That's what he said. Not my words, it's his words. Again, there's far more to this whole Neville Goddard thing than what we've been told. Far more to it. It's not just make a scene and manifest from a scene. There's so many variables. It's unbelievable. Trying to put a thing that'll work for everybody is virtually impossible, because everybody has different archetypes that they associate towards. Manifesting is not a simple cut and clean copy and paste affirmations and boom things. People who think that are just so ignorant. Like, I can't even begin to describe. Like, they're so metaphysically illiterate, it's insane, right? It's just, look, the metaphysics are, if you haven't understood the metaphysics of what I said, go and watch it again. Understand the metaphysics of what I'm trying to say, because when you understand and experience what I'm saying, you will get it. You will understand it. You have to experience it. You have to have expanded capacity to see things for what they are, right? If you're all up in your head non-stop, right? Someone's going to clip what I just did. If you're all up in your head non-stop and you're like all whacked out and you're like living in these resistive pathways and you're bouncing around and you're reacting non-stop and you can't really, have any headspace, and you're reacting to all forms of negativity in your reality and you hate every part of yourself, which, I've been there, I know what that's like. I was at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to this kind of stuff. I had unbelievable levels of resistance. I had somatic sensations in my body that would make me physically sick. I would get physically sick thinking about positive things. That's how whacked out I was. But I learned that the only thing that could fix my stuff, courage. Because I could never do SATs. I couldn't do it. Every time I went into SATs, it would make me physically react. I would have visceral reactions in my body. Visceral. Very, very powerful visceral reactions that would cause me to flinch and all sorts of terrible things. I could not do SATs. It wouldn't work. I tried. It wouldn't work. I saturated my mind. I planted tons of seeds. But nothing ever manifested the way that I ever wanted. Nothing changed until I started owning myself. Owning it. Doing what I talk about. It's the only thing that helped it. The only thing. It was the only thing. Nothing Neville taught helped me. Nothing. Not a single thing. Well, arguably I could say the lullaby technique worked, because that's more aligned to the whole archetypal association that I've talked about. But that's just another form of, again, he taught SATs. Closed eye SATs. You can do it open eye. I learnt from open eye SATs over these years of applying it in the specific way that I learnt that, well, I didn't learn it, I came up with it, really, because I was doing this before I even knew what the gazing method was. Nobody taught me. I just started doing it randomly one day. It's a story, but the gazing method, the primary function of it, again, is to live up here. So even though you're up here you're still bringing part of you up with you. Like, the deeper you go into sats, the deeper you go into the higher level consciousness, if you wish, where you can see more and experience more and see things for what they are. Just because you're up here, you're still having to project. Remember, this is important. You're not going to be able to magically dissolve your resistance by being up here. This just allows you to see things for what they are. Sometimes this can dissolve stuff. I know people who have just dissolved stuff by going deeper into this, but it will give you the insight required to then make decisions in the world to fulfill these things. That is usually how it comes about, right? It is allowing you to have the insight required to dissolve the resistance that you're stuck with. That's fundamentally what this is really about. It will give you the understanding, the experience of the understanding to make the decisions and to deny all of the resistive pathways that you've been stuck with and make the decisions that serve your ultimate value. Any manifestation coach out there worth any kind of salt, they will tell you similarly to what I'm telling you. They'll tell you about working with valuing your core essence, having the boundaries, working with your affinities, all of this stuff. Why? Because it's the foundation. Unless you have that, you have nothing. You really don't. Because you'll always react, you'll always have somatic sensations that are going to warp your experiences. Your sense of self is going to be whacked, and the reason why you have the somatic experiences is because the old experiences are still manifesting the results in your unconscious mind, your nervous system. It's still manifesting. All of that stuff is still there. You haven't dissolved any of that stuff. You haven't refined anything. There's no purification that's happened. Otherwise, you would feel differently. When I started to act in the world with courage, and I did the things that I knew that I wanted to do them, and you're the same. You're the same as me. I know you are. You're not different to me. I know exactly how people's minds work. I've been through coaching with so many people. It's almost always the same scenario. Someone has something that they're looking to fulfill, but they don't feel capable of doing it because of X condition and this, that condition, all these past experiences. They feel bad, or they self-sabotage, or they go into a certain direction, but it's not the direction that they want to, and they think it's because I have talent, but I don't. Someone goes in this direction, and then they end up pulling back to a certain degree because they meet someone that says something and it reminds them of an experience, and it all just whacks out. Their state of being just gets completely destroyed. They don't stand their ground. They don't own anything. Nothing happens. Like, you have to be yourself without compromise. That quality of consciousness cannot be faked. It cannot be replicated. It can only be experienced, and it can only be experienced through an increase in subconscious capacity. That's how insight is gained. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand why manifestation is far more than just telling yourself things and imagining things in your head? Do you understand now why reality synthesis needs to exist? Because everybody tries to patch this stuff into law of assumption, and it just doesn't work because there's no correspondence, there's no epistemology, there's no framework to put it all together in a way that makes sense. So the gazing method is a method that you can apply to increase subconscious capacity at a baseline level if you continue to do it consistently. How do you do it? Let's get to the point. How do you do the gazing method? Very simple, very easy to understand, right? To do the gazing method, you simply have to find a space anywhere. It could even be in a busy environment. It can be anywhere that you have something that you can look at, that you can look past, that's still. Ideally something with high contrast, because it's easier to gaze at a point than a wall that's blank, and your eyes might drift around bits because you don't want your eyes moving. If your eyes move, then you're not going to be going as deep as you should be, because when your eyes are not moving, you're more distant. You'll experience what it is that I'm trying to say. When it comes to going deeper into this, it takes 15 minutes. You should be gazing for 15 minutes. When you're doing the gazing practice, you want to be, for example, if you're doing the hand gazing that I talked about, you want to be gazing past your hand. So imagine there's a bit of distance between your hands. Imagine that there's an imaginary hand or a dot or a point behind your hand, right? You're going to gaze at the point behind your hand. You can't see it, but it's there. That's the invisible point that you're gazing at, right? The invisible point is what you're going to be gazing at. It can be anywhere in the world. You just fix your point, fix your focus, slightly blur your vision, and gaze at that point, okay? 15 minutes, ideally. That will get you deep enough to, for the most part, pull out a corporeal experience. Again, it's not going to dissolve bad feelings. That's not the point. The point is to distance yourself from things so that you can see things for more of what they are and not judge them and all of that stuff and play in the stories. It gives you more of the space to breathe. Don't expect miracles to happen within the first few days. It takes weeks. disciplined action. Regular disciplined action. Regular discipline. Discipline is required to make results happen. Okay, especially if you're in a whacked out place. You will want to go in this direction towards your path of least resistance, and if you apply on top of that drive to be yourself, this practice of gazing, it will amplify your results tenfold. I wouldn't say tenfold, but pretty close to it. Most people who get results have it within about 3 weeks, if they apply correctly. Okay? Someone I spoke to recently, they manifested their SP they've been trying to get for an entire, more than a year. Very long time. They started taking seriously what I've been saying. They've been gazing every single day for a significant amount of time. They've been listening to my subliminal as well for an extended period of time every day. They've been doing the gazing and the subliminal together. And I even gave them a more powerful version of the gazing, the most powerful version of the gazing, because they're a coaching client and I know that they're capable of experiencing this higher level order of the gazing. And that accelerated the results significantly more than just doing the standard version that I'm teaching. I don't teach the advanced version because it forces open the imaginary senses, and other people's unconscious minds on the lens can start to pour into your reality, and it can shift things around that you don't want to be having to shift. Okay? I don't teach the most powerful version because it's dangerous to some people to be doing. It's dangerous for some people to be doing because they can draw into their mind associations that don't belong to them, and they can end up in a more whacked out state than they already are. So I don't teach it. There's a reason why I only teach it to some people who I know are going to be able to benefit from it. But those who do benefit from it significantly. Either way, the version that I'm teaching you, if you apply it consistently and reliably, will get you similar results, okay? These people who continuously do this, they automatically, spontaneously, they have spontaneity. They have an intuitive impulse to act in a certain way, say something to someone that this person might not even agree with, but they know it's within themselves. I am being driven to fulfill this part of me that is looking to express. And by doing the gazing, listening to the subliminal, which the subliminal is on the website, you should be definitely going and buying the subliminal and listening to it half an hour at least every single day. It will also catalyze this effect to a significant degree as well. Just by listening to the subliminal, it will put you pretty much up the top. In fact, I had someone come to my place the other day, into my studio, where I had very large, powerful speakers that could move a lot of air, and I played it through in the studio speakers. The whole room was like, you could feel yourself vibrating with the tone and stuff, and the sound, it basically put them into a daze within seconds. It put them into a daze within seconds. You don't have to play it loud like that, but generally speaking, the louder it is, to the point where it's not damaging your hearing, of course, the quicker it will go. So that's another tip. Those who already have it, more volume, right? To the point where it's comfortable, of course. But either way, they got to a point where they were able to express themselves without fear. They had no fear of rejection or anything, right? And they spoke their mind. They knew their value and they spoke their mind without compromise. And you know what? They got what they wanted in the end. By continually doing this, continually speaking their mind in scenarios, making decisions out of spontaneous decision that I want to do this thing, I have affinity for this thing, I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to flow with this thing. They feel satisfied because they're not compromising and they're not losing a part of themselves by compromising. They're not giving into the unsatisfaction. Doing the gazing will give you the ability to have the distance to be able to see those things for what they are and not react in the negative way by default. That's what having more space will be. It will allow you to stop playing tug of war. The overthinking will stop. If you consistently do the gazing, it will help you. 15 minutes every day. Ideally, you want to be doing it 5 to 6 p.m. That's probably the best time to do it, but also doing it in the morning AM time. That's another way to do it. You can do it both times, half an hour, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And you can do 5-minute intervals during the day, every couple of hours. If you can just zone out and do a gazing session, just distance yourself from reality and reset your state, draw into your mind the archetypal associations that you want, and it'll work for you. Okay? So understand that the gazing method has significant knock-on effects on many different levels. As I've explained to you thoroughly today, manifestation is far more than telling yourself things, because as you flood your mind with things, it has to take up conscious space within the subconscious mind, which again is the interaction of how much of the unconscious mind your consciousness has awareness of. So if you're looping affirmations, what's going to exist in the capacity that your conscious mind has, whatever the capacity you have is going to be those thought processes. It's not going to be aligned to what it is that you want, unless what it is that you're integrating is aligned to your core affinities, which it should be the feeling of the archetype that you have affinity for and association towards at a path of least resistance level, when you flood your mind with that and you make decisions from that, which is what we should be doing, that's how we should be applying affirmations, is that they are concepts that bring us into the archetype that we are looking to express and that we play it out. That is what you want to flood your mind with. That is the only constructive way to build, stuff within the conscious mind that you can act within. Otherwise, everything else is fluff. And you know what it does? It shrinks and destroys your subconscious capacity. It makes you stuck down here. It makes you stuck down in the world where you can't see beyond what's going on in front of your nose. Have you ever noticed that when you're doing robotic affirmations non-stop, or sat scenes non-stop, spending hours in your imagination all day, every day, you know what happens? You're highly reactive. Most people get highly reactive. Do you know why? The example of that is proof that your subconscious mind has contracted. You are more down in the world. You are more stuck in corporeal being. You don't understand your divinity. You're not experiencing the divinity. You are thinking about the divinity, but you're not actually experiencing it on a baseline level. Right? When you experience greater consciousness, you see things. There is a very big difference between conceptually thinking about something, which I did for a very, very long time, how I came to this understanding, and experiencing the reality of it. Very big difference. So the gazing practice, the subliminal, both of these together will, guaranteed if you do it consistently over a long period of time, and according to that, making decisions that come out of that spontaneity, because you will bring awareness to the intuitive impulses that you are always being driven from greater consciousness to make. You will have awareness of them and you will experience them to a greater degree, and you will accept, I'm going to surrender and flow with what it is that I'm being driven to do in this moment. I'm going to take these actions, I'm going to make these decisions that serve me and my value, and I'm not going to care. I'm going to own it completely. I don't care. I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to run around and dance around and look like a fool if need be. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I don't give anything about what anyone else thinks. I'm going to be uncomfortable, but it's okay, because that's who I am. When you learn to be okay with that, you win. You win. All of the seeds that you planted years ago, all of those seeds that you've already planted the seeds, all of those seeds will start to the floodgates will open. They will want to hang out with you, they'll want to spend time with you, they'll want to be doing all of this stuff. But you'll be in contact from all these. This is what real self-concept work is. Changing the sense of self, changing the archetype of consciousness that you're embodying, playing out. Realizing the reality of experience of, changing the projection on the lens by experiencing the reality of its fulfillment. If you can do it traditional Neville Goddard sats and pull yourself up here and change it with an imaginal scene that implies the fulfillment. And again, the implication represents what archetypal association is this drawing into. Because words, they don't have meaning. Conversations don't have any meaning to you. Do you understand? It's all about archetypes of consciousness. Because I know people, many people, and you will find this yourself, who say things that are implying negative context. I haven't heard from this person. And guess what? The person contacts them hours later. I've had this happen in my own life, where you just randomly think of a person. You've had it happen as well. You just randomly think of a person. Oh, I haven't heard from this person in a while. It's the same kind of experience. I haven't. Have not. Not technique. Magic. Negative connotation. And guess what? They show up hours later. Or even sometimes minutes later. Almost everybody has experienced this. So that is proof, irrefutable proof, that the words themselves have no meaning. It is the archetypal association, the target of the feeling that you are experiencing, the embodiment of the thing. What is it implying that you are experiencing? What is the experience that you're having? That is what manifests. Saying words to yourself mindlessly will push out words corresponding to your experience. And you know what for most people that is? Lack, limitation. You will see proof of these affirmations in a limited way because your sense of self is whacked. Right? So when your sense of self is conforming and you say these things, then you'll get manifestations that will confirm to you your value relating to that concept. Do you understand? Sense of self times concept equals context, equals the archetype of consciousness that you're embodying, equals the experience that you impress. Yeah? The reality of experience impresses unconscious field geometries that project shadows into the world. So again, by doing the gazing, it increases the distance that we have to corporeal reality and allows us to make decisions accordingly. Allows us to see things from that perspective. It allows us to change our lens of perception, literally. It allows us to see the same concept under a different light. In fact, it won't even matter what you tell yourself. The Taoist master that I spoke to years and years and years ago, you know what he said? You can have all of your thoughts and all of your feelings. He says enlightened beings have all of their thoughts and all of their feelings, but they know who they are underneath it all. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can have all of your thoughts and all of your feelings, because underlying all of that, at a baseline level, the unconscious foundational field geometry that you have affinity for, you are flowing with. You are accepting, you are in no resistance towards, and that is who you are. That is who you are. You are not the trash that runs through your head. You don't have to worry about the thoughts that come in your head. As long as you're making the decisions and you're living the reality of the experience of being who you want to be, it doesn't matter what you think to yourself. All these people tell you have to watch your mind. Well, to a degree, but if you obsess over it, you're going to be wasting your time. And usually people who obsess over this stuff are people who have limited capacity. And even if you do manifest what it is that you want, it's going to come in a limited way, and you're going to experience the limited archetype of consciousness that you're embodying. You're going to have some kind of negative experience that's going to show up, that's going to make you wake up. Oh, I'm still limited in this way. Oh, I got my manifestation, but it's going to be limited in such a way that's going to remind me of my own lack. It will. I guarantee every single scenario will be the same, because the mechanics of reality confirm that to be the case. So, I've spoken enough on the metaphysics of this stuff. It's plain as day. When you understand and you own it, you say, I don't care, I'm just going to put it out there. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put out what I know is the way that it works, regardless of how people perceive what it is that I'm doing. This is my affinity, this is my path. I'm going to walk my path without shame, without guilt, without fear, without insecurity. I'm going to ditch all of the people in my life that don't hold any value to me in my path. I know my end, I'm going to work towards fulfilling my end. However I am driven to fulfill my end, it doesn't matter. I have no stake in the outcome. I am driven intuitively to fulfill this path. I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to flow with this pathway, and I'm going to fulfill anything that I have that is coming up without compromise. And by doing so, I feel satisfied at the end of the day because I didn't compromise on my path. Therefore, my sense of self is refined. Therefore, the concept, the seeds that I planted way back when, the concept stays the same, but the sense of self shifts. Therefore, the context changes, thus the experience changes, and thus the manifest reality changes. This is why you don't need to do any of the Neville Goddard Sat stuff the way that we've been taught. If I haven't made that abundantly clear, I don't know what else to say. That's how it works. And test it and you'll find out. There are so many people out there who don't do Neville Goddard Sats and they still get results. So many people. There are far more people out there who they do standard, common sense stuff, basically common sense reality stuff, and they shift their scenario, they shift their world. They get more results than the people who do the Neville stuff for years and years and years and years and years. You know why? Because they allow themselves to get mad at themselves for the fact that they're stuck. They allow themselves to feel their feelings. They allow themselves to go through whatever it is they need to go through. Instead of fearing, oh, I'm feeling bad, I need to get out of the bad feeling, oh, it's going to manifest bad. No. You need to feel the bad feeling. You need to accept that this is who you are. You are a loser. Right now, you are a loser. That's not anything bad. That's just the fact. That's your archetype of consciousness. Now, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to fulfill the processes that you are being driven to fulfill, or are you going to continue to accept the degeneracy? Are you going to continue to accept people putting you down for being who you desire to be in life? It doesn't matter about what other people think. It doesn't matter if you're the only one on earth. You're the only person on earth who is the way you want to be. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you fulfill your archetypes of consciousness that represent your fulfillment. That's it. Okay? I can't make that any more clear than that. Subconscious capacity increases your ability to make those decisions. It's another factor, it's another piece of the puzzle. It explains a heck of a lot more than just what I've talked about, because it goes into many other pieces of the puzzle when it regards to physical manifestations, but that's how it works at a baseline level, alright? So, when it comes to manifesting our SPs, our money, all of that stuff, that will come automatically because you've already planted those seeds way back when. If you've planted the seeds, it will show up, alright? You just need to get out of your own way. Being yourself without compromise is dropping the seed. It is dropping the seed. That's what dropping the seed is. Okay, if you're overthinking about it, you're constantly, pulling the seed out and shifting it around, bits and pieces, adding bits to the middle, blah, 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 blah. If you're doing all of this warped out stuff, you're never going to let the seed sprout. because you're not making the decisions that you know you want to make. You're still unsatisfied. Why? Because you don't have the capacity to make those decisions. So it starts really with primarily building capacity. The way you build capacity, gazing for 15 minutes, start and the end of the day, periodically during the day for about 5 minutes, listening to the subliminal half an hour. If you do them together, even more powerful. You'll go into an even more dazed state. You will have more space. You'll be able to see things for what they are. Again, it increases the quality of consciousness. People think they're supposed to have some magic feeling come about them. No, you just, over time, you learn how these resistive pathways are as you continue to do the gazing. It just, by doing it, it gives you more perspective. It pulls back the layers. It allows you to see things for what they are. That's why you have to have no stake in the outcome. No stake in the outcome whatsoever. Okay, it's important. So, being yourself without compromise is dropping the seed, is manifestation, is part of the process that Neville Goddard failed to talk about. Neville Goddard failed, epically failed. He completely and utterly failed in telling us how manifesting works. Which is why Neville Goddard should not be looked at in a vacuum. We should not be looking at law of assumption in a vacuum, because it doesn't work. If it worked, everybody watching this video would have results, but they don't. And that proves to you my point. You're wasting your time watching these people. You're wasting your time listening to Neville Goddard. You are wasting your time doing mindset work. You are wasting your life. You are wasting your vitality. You are wasting everything. So stop it and start changing direction into a direction that is actually serving your purpose, your path of least resistance. Do it. Make the decision. Because the decisions you make are far more important than the thoughts that run through your head, the feelings that you have. Far, 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 far more important. Infinitely more important. I can't even begin to describe. 10,000 times more important. Because the decisions that you make are proof of who you are being. Neville Goddard himself said, he said the reactions, but I'm going to say the decisions. He said the reactions that you have are proof that you were in a different state. You changed at a baseline level. But when you can consciously make those decisions consistently, from that place of fulfillment, from that path of least resistance, when you can make those decisions uncompromisingly and know your value accordingly, then you win at life. And people will, of course, remember I talked about the consciousness, the archetypes? People who are looking for your archetype over here, they will be attracted to you because now you're being yourself. Your archetype has changed. They relate differently to you. Therefore, you manifest the person you want without trying, without consciously thinking about all these things and trying to change them. That's what he meant. There is no one to change but self. Why? Because your archetype is self. The composition, the context of being is the archetype of consciousness that represents self. And when you change self, your interaction, the field geometries that you have, the unconscious mind, it projects a different process that other people can then link into that are looking for your archetype to play a part in your reality. You want people to play a part in your reality in a way that's confirming your value? Play it out. Embody that archetype of consciousness that you represent with your fulfillment. Because that is your path of least resistance. If you deny your path of least resistance, you will always be unsatisfied. You will always feel devalued. Because you're not able to make the decisions that you want to make. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you get it? That is manifestation. That is the facts, the irrefutable objective facts, and nobody on earth can deny it. Nobody. Nobody on earth can deny that this is how it works. If you think you can, go ahead and systematically refute reality synthesis. Instead of posting a comment in the comment section telling me about some kind of flaw that I have as on a personal level, because you hate what I say, go ahead and systematically write hundreds of pages like I have, systematically refuting reality synthesis on all of the levels that I've presented. Do it. Go ahead and do it. If you think it's so great, go ahead and do it. Go on, try it. I dare you. Try it. Go ahead. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. It's been years. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for someone. Still waiting. I used to say back when I used to go and talk to people at the cafe up the road from where I am. I used to go and talk to them about these things, and it's like I used to say, I'm still waiting for someone to refute what it is that I'm saying. I'm still waiting. But of course my problem back then is I couldn't own it. I was still stuck in limited expression. I could never put it out there. Guess what? I'm putting it out there. I'm owning it. You're the same. You have something that you're willing to express, that you know you want to express. You have an archetype of consciousness that you're willing to fulfill, that you're unsatisfied with. So start by doing the gazing and start by gaining awareness of what that stuff is. Start gaining awareness. It starts with awareness. I said in one of my old videos, it all starts with awareness. Increasing your subconscious capacity is increasing your awareness. And increasing your awareness means that you can make the correct decisions that will serve your end. It means that you will be fulfilled in your archetype. You'll be flowing with your path of least resistance, and you will feel fulfilled in life. You'll be satisfied. Because you're going all the way. It will be effortless at that point, because the effortless path is the path of least resistance that you are being always driven to fulfill. That is why it's effortless. People think, oh, I have to try, I have to act, I have to do work. No, you don't. Being yourself without compromise, it comes naturally. If you listen to anyone who's done the real work, they'll just say, oh, it just happened naturally. I just spoke my mind. I couldn't help it. I just had to speak my mind. That's what they'll tell you. They'll tell you, I could not help but speak my mind. I was in a place, I just had to do it. It's natural. They didn't have to try. They didn't have to do any work. They just did it. They made the decision, and by doing it consistently, it just automatically comes. Maybe in the beginning it was a bit tough, but they made the decision. Guess what? They revised the past, and therefore the charge, the somatic sensations, they just dissolve like there was nothing even there to begin with. Because they made the decision and it proved to them that they're not stuck. You can do the same thing. Anyway, that's all I can really say. I've said everything that needs to be said. Watch the video again, write notes. As I always say, write notes on what it is that I'm saying. Study it extensively, write notes, understand the epistemology, the metaphysics, the alchemy. Understand what the essence of reality synthesis is. Because to synthesize, meaning to bring components together to create one thing, that's what a synthesis is, to create context, to create a state, to create everything, it's the alchemy. Reality synthesis represents the alchemy and the metaphysics of reality, and how you can actually utilize those mechanics to create phenomena in your life. If you don't understand it and you put a comment in the comment section saying, I don't understand it, I'm not going to answer you, because it's all there. Go and study it more. It's all there. You have to go and study it more. The reason why you don't understand is because you don't have the capacity. I told you there's a quality of consciousness that is required to understand. Someone who is of a higher level of consciousness, I hate to say level because it implies, good and bad, someone's better than someone else, not really. It's just when you are more of yourself and you can see from above, when you can look down at things, in essence, you can look down at the pieces on the table. You can see all the pieces for what they are instead of being on the table and not seeing the forest for the trees, in essence. The reason why you don't understand is because you're not doing the gazing. You're not doing the work. You're still overstimulating your mind. You have to do the work, okay? Do the gazing and you'll understand it. Do the work, study further, do the gazing practice. Spend as much time as you can during the day doing the gazing practice. But don't, of course, focus everything on that, because you still have to make decisions. You have to have the balance. The yin and the yang balance come together, right? We have to have the coherency of both of these principles in a way that's proportionate. So that's really all there is to it. Do the gazing 15 minutes at the start and the end of the day. Periodically spend at minimum 5 minutes doing gazing every couple of hours during the day. And wherever you can, just gaze at any object in the world that you can, gaze past it. Not at it, but past it. Okay? Gazing past the object, a little bit behind it, softening the vision, going slightly cross-eyed. That's what you want. That's the vision. And you'll notice that you'll go deeper and deeper and deeper every time you do it. You'll get faster at going deeper every time you do it. It'll come naturally. Okay? Dedicate yourself to the process. Go and get the subliminal on my website. If you go and get the subliminal, I've been trying to improve it. I cannot improve the subliminal any further. It is impossible. Well, at least I believe it's impossible, because it's based on the mechanics of how all this works. I created a subliminal that reflects the process of creation, in essence, in an audio form that you can listen to. All you have to do is listen to the subliminal on a consistent basis every day for at least half an hour, and you will get results from listening to the subliminal. It will put you into that dazed out state. You will increase subconscious capacity. You will see things more of what they are, and it will drive you to become more of yourself without compromise. Okay? You still have to make the decisions, but it will give you the perception, the top-down view of things, to be able to see things for what they are and more effectively and more efficiently make those decisions. I've discussed, that's the point. So doing the gazing and listening to the subliminal together, most powerful method you can possibly get. Everybody who's done that, every single person who has done it and has dedicated themselves to that process, has reported back with massive positive benefits. Very fast results. Everybody. Okay? Every single person, if they dedicate themselves and do the work, get massively fast, powerful, beneficial results. If you're not getting the results, you're not doing the work. I don't care, you're not doing the work correctly. If you do the work, if you gaze and you be uncompromising, you listen to the subliminal, you do all of that stuff together, you will manifest what you want. The seeds in the past that you've planted, they will sprout. They will. They're waiting for you to get out of your own way. That's it. That's it. Literally, that's it. That's all there is to it. I'll go on about techniques and stuff in a later video. That's the gazing method. That's the mechanics and metaphysics and alchemy behind the gazing method. How to do it, when to do it, why we do it, all of that. So that's all there is to it, right? Apply what it is that I've said and you'll get the result. So I want to thank everybody for watching this video. If you've come to the end, you're an absolute legend. I want to say thank you immensely. You're probably someone who's interested in learning more, so go to my website, realitysynthesis.com. Links are in the description. Realitysynthesis.com has tons of stuff on there. I've basically written an entire book on the Ethereal Notebook. It's very long. There's a massive amount of work that I've put on there. Go and study it. Go and take notes on it. Break it down, understand it, experience it, see it for what it is. You'll understand things to a significantly greater degree than anyone else. Because the experience of what it is that I'm saying is really where the understanding comes from, which is a function of subconscious capacity. Okay? So that's important. People who have higher subconscious capacity will understand. Those who have lower subconscious capacity will not understand because they don't have the perspective. That is why. So doing the work that I've said is why. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Go and check out the site if you want to get more. I want everyone to share this video around so that people can understand. Manifestation is far more than just telling yourself stuff. And I want everyone to like the video so that this video, of course, can share around in the algorithms and more people can view it, more people can understand. Reality synthesis is here and it's here to stay and it's here to take over this whole community and present the facts. Finally set things straight as to what's going on. Present the real metaphysics, the real alchemy, the real processes at play as to how and why manifestation works the way that it does, right? Apply it, do the work, and you'll see the results. You won't have to believe anything that I say. If you do it, you will see it, you will know it, you will experience it, you will be that you are. Okay? So I just want to thank everyone for watching once again, and stay legendary. I'll see you in the next video.